Hi everyone, I'm Gina from Gina K Designs, and today on StampTV I'm going to show you an elegant card project featuring the Birthday Essentials StampTV kit. And I'm also going to show you something fun that I found out about our dye ink. Let me show you the tools and products you're going to need to make this card project. First, you're going to need some ink, and I'm using the Memento Tuxedo Black ink along with some of our Gina K Designs Fresh Asparagus ink. Then you're going to need some stamps, and I'm using some of the stamps from the Birthday Essentials kit, including this Flourished Happy Birthday greeting, this beautiful flower, and this patterned leaf. For coloring, I'm going to be using some alcohol markers, and the ones I'm using today are the Spectrum Noir Markers CR8, CR3, CR5, and CG1. I'm also going to be using some dyes. I'm using the mini Fanciful Flourish dye, and then I'm also using one of our exclusive wafer thin dyes that comes in the StampTV kit. This is from the Birthday Blessings die set. I'm also going to be using some 1/4 inch pop dots and some of the Thermo Web sticky dots, along with some mono adhesive. For cardstock, I am using some of our white cardstock, some of the Gina K Designs black Onyx, and then a piece of the heavy base weight cardstock in white for my card base. So I'm going to begin with this particular panel. This is 3 3/3 inches by 5 inches, and I'm going to stamp the leaf on this particular piece of cardstock, and I'm going to be using some of the Fresh Asparagus ink. So I'm going to ink that up, and sometimes when these stamps are freshly cleaned, you got to give them a little bit of extra ink on the first pass. And then I'm going to stamp this one down here like this. Okay. Then my next one is going to go right next to it, but it's going to be facing in a little bit of a different direction. I'm going to stamp that one right about here. And then I've got one more I'm going to stamp, and I'm going to make that one come in from the side. So that one will come in from over here. There we go. Now my next step is going to be to stamp a greeting. And I'm going to use this really pretty happy birthday greeting. And this has all little flourishes on it, which will coordinate so nicely with this die. I'm going to use the black Memento ink because I'm also using that to stamp the flower image. So I want the black to match. And I'm going to stamp that right up here at the top. Excuse my head if it gets in the way. This is such a pretty greeting. Looks very pretty embossed too. So there is the greeting. Okay. Now I have another piece of white cardstock. Let me just put this aside. I have another piece here, and I'm going to stamp the flower using the black Memento. Looks like I'm going to need a new Memento ink pad. Mine's getting a little bit ratty. I've had it for a long time. And I'm going to just stamp that down here in this corner, because I'm going to cut this out with my die cutting machine, and I want to save the rest of the cardstock for other things. But you can see how beautiful and bold that flower appears stamped. I just love that. So now I'm going to do a little bit of Spectrum Noir coloring, and I'm going to show you how to shade using 3 different Spectrum Noir markers. The first color I want to use is the CR3. And I'm going to start, let me turn this around here, I know this is very close up, but I'm going to start by coloring the whole petal in this CR3. Now you can find comparable Copic markers or other alcohol marker sets. Just color out some of your pinks and find a light, a medium, and a dark. and they will work just fine. Okay, so we've got that first color down. I'm just going to color a few of these petals. With alcohol markers, it's actually nice to color a little bit at a time because the ink is real nice and wet then. All right, and we'll do this one right here. Okay. Now my next color is going to be the CR5. And for that one, I'm going to color right along the lines that are already built into this stamp. You can see those. That'll kind of help guide you on where to color this shading. Just follow along with those lines. And I know it looks kind of harsh right now. You can really see a big difference between the lighter and the darker pink. Let me just back out a little bit there. So you can see, again, I'm just coloring right over those little lines that are drawn into the stamp. And that's done. Now I'm going to go back with the lighter marker, once again the CR3, and I'm going to kind of feather it toward the lighter color, right over that darker color. That kind of blends that and takes away some of that harsh line. It reactivates the light color too, so you get a nice blend going there. And I'm just pushing that color toward the lighter color. You can see that's looking a little bit more blended now, not quite so harsh. Now the final color that I'm going to use is going to be the CR8, and that is a much more vibrant color. That's a real deep red. And I'm going to color that right along the bottom of each petal. You can see how I'm doing that, right against the line of the petal, kind of right under it, or right on top of it, depending on how you're looking at it. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to my CR5, which was the medium color, and I'm going to push that color toward the lighter color, or the medium color. You can see I'm just kind of adding some ink, and it's getting wet again, and then it's kind of all blending together nicely. And that really gives a lot of depth along those petal lines. Okay, and now once again I'm going to go to the lightest color, that CR3, and finish blending that out to the lightest color. Remove any of those harsh lines. And you'll find pretty much all alcohol markers work this way. Each one has its own little tricks, so when you get a new style you might want to practice a little bit, but you can see all of that depth that's becoming apparent in that flower. Now let me show you my finished flower, because I colored one a little bit earlier so that you didn't have to watch me color the whole thing, but you can see how vibrant that is when it's all done. Now I would be cutting this flower out using my die, and you can see how that looks. You get that nice little white edge around the outside of that flower. Let me tell you a little trick, and I've told you this before, but for those of you maybe who missed it, I want to show you a little trick on how to line this die up with this flower. You'll notice that right here on the flower, there's kind of a missing little petal there. I could have put one more petal there, but we didn't do that. And then on the die, we have one notch that goes in very far compared to all the others. They line up together, and if you line those up together, you will nail it every time. So just look for that little notch on the die and that little indentation on the flower, and it will be very easy to cut that out. Okay, so there's my finished flower. Now, I wanted to cut out a couple of the mini Fanciful Flourishes, and I did that using black, and I want to show you how pretty they are. Aren't they beautiful? This is a nice die, and it can be used for so many cards and scrapbook pages. It's endless what you can use this one for. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a little trick that I didn't realize that our inks were able to handle. I have this CG1, and this is a very light green. And I was looking at this ink, and I thought, boy, these leaves, and I thought, boy, they're really pretty, but I would love to color in there with alcohol markers or water-based markers. I didn't know what to use. So I thought, well, let me see how the Spectrum Noir works. And I want to show you how beautifully you can color over our ink with alcohol markers, and it doesn't smear the pattern at all. I didn't heat set that. I just let it dry. And you can see that's giving that beautiful highlighted green in there. And that ink is just staying perfectly still. It's not smearing, it's not blurring, it's not blending together. It's just staying nice and crisp underneath this yellowy green that I'm putting on top. So let me finish coloring these. You could also try some blending techniques on top of this patterned leaf, and I'm sure that that would be absolutely stunning. Went outside the lines there, but that's all right. That happens sometimes. So I was pretty impressed with this, but then I realized that these inks are water-based ink, and water-based ink can be blended with alcohol markers without any smearing. An alcohol ink, like StampTV and other inks like that, cannot be used with alcohol markers, but they're very good with water-based markers. So you kind of want to go with the old adage, opposites attract. If it's an alcohol ink, mix water-based markers. If it's a water-based ink, you can do the alcohol markers. And that really opens up a lot of possibilities, because more and more I'm seeing creative artists color in images with alcohol markers, but not using black ink. They're using light colored inks and getting that real pretty watercolored look. So you can try that with some of our ink and see if you can get that look as well. Okay, so this is almost done here. There we go. That is so pretty and vibrant. Just love that. Okay, now this whole panel is going to go on top of a piece of black onyx. So I'll put that on with some of the mono adhesive. Okay. There we go. So there's that panel. Now this whole panel is going to sit on top of my white card base, and I will apply that now as well. All right. Nice and even there. Now, we're going to do a little floral arrangement featuring the flourishes and this beautiful flower. Now the flower, I want it to go right over those stems, so you don't, those stems look like they're part of the flower. And I'm going to use pop dots for that. But first, I want to lay out these flourishes. So I thought one would be really pretty, kind of coming up over. You could even slip it underneath if you want. Just lift that up and slip it right underneath, like that. I thought that would look really pretty coming out and up and over that side of the cardstock. And then that would go on top. Kind of have to lay these out before you glue everything down. And then this one I thought would be very pretty coming out from underneath. Kind of gives it like a trellis feel. All right, so let's get some of these sticky dots out. And one of our wonderful members, viewers, gave me a little tip about using these. So I think I have more than one sheet here. she said to peel this off and to lay this down and then use this sheet to lay on top of it to press it down. And this way you won't get glue all over your fingers. And I think that is just a marvelous tip, so I wanted to share that all with you. That was a comment that was posted on either our YouTube channel on the last card that I made or at StampTV. So you can read those comments and get a lot of really good ideas. Okay, so we're going to put that one right behind here. Let me pull that up again and slip it under there. Okay. And then you can lay that down wherever you want it. And I'll tell you that I have found that just a regular eraser works really well to get rid of any glue that gets on the surface. So I will erase that before I take my photo of this card. Getting kind of yucky there. All right. And now I'm just going to put a little bit on this one. And this one is going to go, let's see where we want it, right about here. Actually, I'm not sure that I want that to go over the birthday greeting, so I will move that down just a little bit. There we go. And then I'm going to apply the flower right on top like that using the 1/4 inch pop dots. Well, you can see that I used our layering weight white. Isn't that pretty? That looks like a watercolor flower. I might do one like that and just turn it over and put it on. That is so pretty. Looks so watercolored. All right, and this is going to go right on top. Like that. There we go. So other than my little smush right there, which I will clean up with an eraser, there is my finished card project. Put those down too. I hope you've enjoyed today's StampTV video. Stay tuned for more projects featuring the Birthday Essentials StampTV kit, and thanks for watching.